Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to start with the next chapter, but before starting with this chapter, let us just revise what we did in the earlier chapter. We'll just quickly go through it in 5 minutes. So the first chapter in a software application, we studied the definition. What was that? A set of program which performs a specific task and have a target user. Then we have gone through the application components, the UI roles and role specific functionality, business rules and validation, database and data, reports, logs, interfaces, backend process. Then we've seen the application characteristics, the different characteristics being the UI critical application, end user category, performance critical application, sensitive data handling applications, and global usage application. Then the next being application domain. So there are two types of domain: industrial and enterprise business process domain. Then next we studied the architecture, wherein we covered desktop architecture, client server applications or a two-tier architecture, web-based architecture, and mobile applications. Next categories, application categories, so system software and application software. So we have seen the application categories as well. Then we studied application service model and the different types of service models being product, project enhancements, customization of codes, and re-engineering. And the last topic of the first chapter was application users, wherein there are different types of users like business users, community users, and technical users. Okay, so if you want to just go through the entire chapter, you can just watch the previous two videos. Okay, so let us now just start with the next chapter, that is development of software application. Now in the earlier chapter we have seen the definitions and the components and everything. Okay, now we'll start with the development of software application. Now we have already gone through this in our college days, okay, but we quickly just again brief through this parts. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to study obviously the software development life cycle. Okay, then we are going to study this different project team members and their roles and responsibility. So project team organization. Okay, then what are the different challenges that we are going to face in SDLC. So while developing a software, what are the different challenges that we generally face? Okay, and then what is the definition of a bug? I'll tell you the sequence of why we are taking this topic here. So as and when we go going through this chapter, you'll understand the sequence. So we are going to study the definition of a bug or a defect. Okay, and to identify this defect, okay, what we need to do is software testing, and we are going to see the definition of software testing. Yes, so basically these are these 5 points that we are going to cover in this chapter. Let us just quickly start with software development life cycle. We have all studied this software development life cycle, okay, but just quickly we'll start with the different phases that we have. Okay, so basically what is software development life cycle? It's the process which includes various phases that are followed so that a product is or the project is developed. Okay, so the first phase is obviously requirement phase. Okay, then the next one is analysis and design. Okay, the third one is implementation. The fourth one is testing. The next one is deployment, and the last phase is maintenance. Okay. Right. So we'll just quickly go through each and every phases of this. So first phase is the requirements. Okay. Now what exactly we do in this requirement phase? Okay. Now again, a requirement phase, the first thing that we do is feasibility study. Okay. Now what is feasibility study? So before taking a project, we need to check whether this application is feasible or not. So can we do it to the expected level? And not only we can do it or not, but within the budget and the time frame that the customer is expecting. Okay, so that is called as a feasibility study. Okay, then what we do is called as requirements elicitation analysis. Okay, now what is this elicitation analysis? Now once we figured out that yes, it's feasible, okay, we can deliver this project within the time and the budget expected. Okay, we need to note it down what are the exact things that we need to do. Okay, and we need to detail them out. Okay, now let us just take an example of, if you say the project is to make an application or to make a website where you can book movie tickets. Okay, so the feasible study is that whether can you deliver that in a certain amount of times, let's say for 1 month. Okay, so that is done. Okay, now in the requirement elicitation analysis, okay, you need to note it down. Okay, so what are the things that you need to note down? That what are the different requirements? Okay, so first of all, there must be a registration page. Okay, there must be a registration module, then there must be a login module. Okay, then there must be a allocation of seat module. Okay, where the user can come and select the seats. Okay, then there must be payment gateways. Okay, so on and so forth. So we need to detail each and everything out. Now that is called as requirement elicitation analysis. Okay, the last one is requirement validations. Okay, now this issue you will face every time while delivering a project. Okay, now the customer wants everything within that stipulated time and also within that budget. Okay, so he may say, okay, you just add this functionality also. He may just keep on going and adding the functionalities. Okay, but we need to check whether those requirements are actually feasible or not. Okay, can we do it or not? Okay, so we need to validate it. Let me just give you an example of ticket booking site itself. Now the customer is saying that he needs a facility of cash on delivery as well. Okay, now theoretically we can deliver the functionality, isn't it? But practically, is it feasible? Okay, now can a person go and deliver only movie tickets? Okay, now what do you call it? Budget wise or the costing wise, it doesn't make any sense. The ticket costs around, in India it costs around like 200-300 rupees. For that purpose, you need to send the person, and if the person is not available, then the seats may get booked and everything. So there are a lot of issues there. Okay, so that requirement, it's not feasible, correct? So that is called as requirement validation. So we are validating the requirements given by the customers. I hope this is clear. Okay, now after each of these phases, okay, there is an outcome which is there. Okay, now that outcome is called as a deliverable. Okay, now what is a deliverable? So deliverable is nothing but the outcome, the output of that particular phase. Okay, so let me just so this is a deliverable. So I'll just create another topic that is deliverable, because this is deliverable is nothing but the outcome of that particular phase. Okay, so each of these phases will have their deliverables. Okay, now this deliverable for requirement phase would be a baseline SRS. Okay, now what is SRS? So SRS is nothing but a system requirement specification document. Okay. Now this requirement, okay, means that you have received an SRS document from your customer, and from that document you are doing this study of feasibility, elicitation analysis and validation. Okay. Now once you have completed the requirement phase, the outcome of that particular phase, the deliverable of that particular phase is called as the baseline SRS. Okay. One cannot say that this phase is complete unless and until you have this deliverable called as baseline SRS. Okay. I hope this is clear. Yes. Now the next topic is analysis and design. Okay. Now in analysis and design you do two things. Okay. Firstly, high level design, and low level design. Now this is very comprehensive design things that happen. So there are n number of documents that you create in this. Okay. We are going to go through it briefly. So I'm just going to tell you the deliverables. So this, okay, this deliverable is for, so this is the requirement deliverable. Okay. Right. Yes. Now let me just create another deliverable. So this is my analysis and design deliverable. Okay. So there are n number of deliverables here again. Okay. Now firstly being architectural plan. Okay. Now architectural plan is nothing but, you all must have seen our building maps and everything. Okay. Similar to that, we have the architectural plan for the application as well. Okay. And the next is database design. Okay. So the database engineer will design this document. Okay. So they will have like different database components, what are the different inputs that you require. There would be some data, whether you have to use some SQL or depending upon the data you need some different servers or Oracle you are going to use. So there are a number of things that goes through when you are using this database or when you are creating this database document. Okay. The next document is obviously screen design. Okay. Now screen design can also be called as wireframes. Okay. Now wireframes are nothing but you get a HTML file where you can navigate through the application. Nothing is at the back end. Okay. So there is no database or something, but for the look and feel of the application, they create the HTML screens. Okay. Now that is called as the wireframe. So wireframes are created. Okay. Now sometimes we get this wireframes in the requirement phase only, so that in testing basically we get this wireframes in the requirement phase only. Okay. But this is for development that we are seeing. Okay. Right. The next deliverable may be module design. So each and every module design and the flow of the data, okay, that can be given in this document. Okay. And one more, the program specification. So there may be some logics that may be given in this program specification document. Okay. I hope this is clear. Right. Okay. Now the next phase is implementation phase. Okay. In implementation phase, we are going to write the codes. Okay. So developing programs and coding. Okay. So that is the activity that we actually go through in this phase. Okay. And the deliverable of this is obviously a working code base. Okay. And you have to do unit level testing in this implementation or whenever you are developing a code. Okay. Now, so unit level test report is generated as a deliverable for implementation phase. Now, what is unit level testing? What is integration testing? We are going to cover these topics in the coming lectures. Okay. So I'll just leave that topic as it is, as a deliverable for implementation phase. Okay. Now let me just create the deliverable here for implementation. So I've created the deliverables for implementation, the working code and unit level testing report here. Okay, I will start with the testing phase. Okay, so the activities that are going to happen in testing phase is we are going to obviously check the functions. So functionality we are going to check, and if there are any issues in that functionality, we are going to make a report of it. That is called as a defect report. Now defect and bug, what is that, we are going to study in the same session, okay, but later on. Okay, and the deliverables of testing phases are, now to first of all get to the defect report, we have to first create test scenarios, test cases, test scripts. Okay, we are going to study each and every topic in detail as and when we are moving forward with the sessions. Okay, so let us just leave as a deliverable for testing phase as of now. Okay, then we'll move to deployment phase. So the activities in deployment phase is that whatever programs or whatever code that we have delivered or we have implemented, we are going to deploy that now onto the environment or to the customer environment. So it may be an Android app, so then that becomes an environment, or it may be a website, so we are just hosting the website. Okay, so that is an environment. Okay, now the deliverables for this is that you might create some user trainings or user manuals. Okay, or you might create some release notes. Okay, now what is a release note? Now in big projects, not each and every functionality is covered into just one single release. Okay, or not every functionality is covered at once. Okay, it is distributed, it is divided into some slots. Okay, now I'm using I'm not using what you call a proper industrial language here, because you're not familiar with those language as of now. So as and when we are moving forward to the next sessions and so on and so forth, okay, I can use those typical words that is used in industries, but as of now it is going to be distributed in slots. Okay, so in the first slot, maybe we are going to cover some couple of modules. Let's say for let's say for ticket booking side, that the example we have taken, we might cover the registration module, the login module, or the seat allocation module. Okay, so that we have analyzed, designed, implemented, we have tested. Okay, and that we have deployed. Right, now that becomes your release 1. Okay, so whatever things that is delivered or whatever reports that you have created for that particular release, okay, that comes under this release notes. Okay, I hope you have understood this release note. So this is actually deliverables only. Okay, and the activity of deployment phase is that we are going to deploy the code onto the user environment. Okay, then in maintenance, so in maintenance there are actually 4 different activities that we do. The first one is a preventive approach. Okay, now preventive approach means you have to improve the future maintainability. That means if the code that has been written, okay, if you feel that this is not according to the standards set, okay, then you might improve some codes. Let's say for example there are no comments given for a particular function or so on and so forth. Okay, so that is actually preventive approach. Okay, next is the corrective approach. Okay, so corrective is nothing but you are correcting some errors or defects that may come in life. Okay, so you have deployed it and the customer is feeling that these are some issues that that are there. Okay, so you are correcting those issues. Okay, so that is corrective approach. Then there is adaptive approach. Okay, so that may be adaptability to changing environment. Okay, now let's say for example you have deployed a website. Okay, now the user wants an application or Android application for that. So you are adapting to your environment. Okay, and then perfectiveness, any new capabilities or enhancements or features that you want, okay, that you would do here. Okay, now the deliverable for this maintenance phase is nothing but the change request document and code changes. Now code changes, obviously whatever corrections you are making, okay, so the code is going to be changed, right? So that is code changes, right? And what is the change request? Now in industry, generally the change request is nothing but the SRS document that we are actually using here in the requirements. Okay, now see, this is not the end of the world, right? this is the release, end of the release. Okay, so now next release is going to happen, right? So in next release, what are the functionalities that needs to be developed? Are there any new features that we need to add? Okay, now that document is actually nothing but a change request document. Okay, now that will come again as a SRS, so system requirement specification document in the requirement phase. So input for this requirement document is nothing but the SRS document. Okay, and then we finalize that after completing this requirement phase, we get what is a baseline SRS. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, so here we are done with the SDLC module. Okay, there is one more thing related to SDLC. Okay, now that is actually called as the entry and exit criteria here. Okay, now what does this means is that the entry of a particular phase, okay, and the exit of the particular phase. Let's say for example this analysis and design phase. Okay, now when can I say that this analysis and design phase is completed? Okay, only when that this deliverables of analysis and design phase, that is architectural plan, database design, screen design, module design, program specifications, each and everything is completed. So all these documents are prepared, then only I can say that this phase is completed. Okay, so that is the exit criteria of that particular phase. So exit criteria is nothing but the output of that particular phase or the deliverable of that particular phase. But when can you start analysis and design phase? Okay, now you can start this phase only when the requirement phase is completed, isn't it? Yes. Now we have seen the exit criteria of analysis and design phase. But what is the exit criteria for requirements, or when can you say that this phase is completed? Only when you have the baseline SRS document, that is the deliverable of requirement phase completed. Okay, so this becomes the entry criteria for the next phase, that is analysis and design phase. Okay, so entry and exit criteria are nothing but entry criteria of a particular phase is nothing but the exit criteria of the previous phase. Okay, I hope you have understood this concept of entry and exit criteria. Okay, now we have studied SDLC here. We have studied the entry and exit criteria related to it. Okay, right. Now we are going to study the project team organization, or whatever team members that are required. Okay, so that this entire project can be delivered. Okay, so these are the important people that are required so that you can deliver the project. Okay, now before let's say before starting with this project team organizations, now there are a number of SDLC models here. For example, waterfall, iterative or incremental, spiral and prototype. Okay, I'm not going to touch everything in details here. Okay, if you want that I can make this videos of each and every models. Okay, please write down in the comments that you want the separate videos for each and every SDLC model, so that I can make some videos and upload it. Okay, because this is a testing session that we are going on, and we are not going to go in detail for those topics. But if you want to learn, you can just Google it, it's available. Or if you want me to make some videos, okay, on it, just mention in the comments so that I can make one. Okay, so let's move to project team organizations. Right, the first person, the important person, is the business analyst one. Okay, so business analyst is the person who's going to study the system. Okay, it may be the existing system that is already developed. Okay, or maybe some competitor systems that is already there. So he's going to study the existing system. Okay, he's going to identify what are the different business processes in those systems. Are there any gaps in those systems? Okay, and he'll try to bridge those gaps. So he is basically a bridge between the customer and the development team. Okay, so he's going to document whatever things the customer is going to tell, and he's going to tell the development team. Okay, and he's going to pass on the messages whatever the customer is going to say. Okay, he's also going to help the customers in doing the user acceptance testing. Again, user acceptance testing is a very important testing. Okay, we will study this when we are going to study the V model in the next sessions. Okay, Yes, the next person is a project manager. Okay, a project manager is the person, his responsibilities would be identify the project objectives, set milestones. Okay, he might develop a project plan. Okay, he's going to have to manage the stakeholders. Now, who is a stakeholder? So stakeholder is nothing but the people, the customer is basically a stakeholder here. Okay, so obviously daily meetings, updating the status to the customers or to his seniors. Okay, that is his main job. Okay, now he has to also manage the risk of a project. Are there any scope changes, the budget and everything? Okay, that is his roles. Okay, the next is a technical architect. Now, technical architect is a person who's going to provide you with technical expertise. So the deliverables here of the analysis and design phase, this architectural plan, database design. Okay, so these documents can be created by this technical architect. Okay, the next one is UI designer. Okay, before the technical architect is a person who's actually also going to do review of the code. Okay, again review, what is verification and everything we're going to study in the while we are going to study the V model. Okay, so yes, the next is UI designer here. UI designer is nothing but he's going to design the screens in the analysis and design phase. Okay, so he's going to design the user interface or the interface architecture of the particular applications, any graphics if required. Okay, and also is going to work with the developers to ensure the feasibility of the design that he has developed. Okay, then developer obviously is going to develop the code. Okay, the program is going to do, okay, according to the technical documents that has been created by the UI designer or the technical architect, and he's going to maintain that code. Okay, now whatever code has been developed by the developer, the tester is going to test whether it is working as per the given functionality or not. Okay, then if there are any issues in the functionality, he may just report those issues to the developer and he has to retest it once the developer has fixed those issues. So this is the project team that is going to work so that the project is delivered and to check whether each and every process is getting followed or not. Okay, now we are going to move to the challenges that are going to be faced in STLC module. So basically, what can go wrong in application? Now, while developing an application, the project team are going to face some different challenges, isn't it? Also, the team may commit some error while developing an application. Now, let us see what are the different challenges the team is going to face in different phases of STLC. Okay, so first, obviously, the requirement phase. Okay, now in the requirement phase, what can go wrong? Okay, or what are the challenges that the team might face? Okay, now the first and common challenge is obviously the unclear or missing requirement. Now the customer, while explaining what exactly product or project he requires, he might give some unclear requirements, or there might be some requirements which are completely missing. Okay, so that can create what do you call? So because of this, there might be some issues in the applications. Okay, so there are these challenges in the requirement phase, and because of these challenges, there might be some issues in the application. That is what we are going to study here. Okay, now obviously because of unclear or missing requirement, certain functionality may not be available. Okay, or it might be partially available. Okay, that can happen. Now next is frequently changing requirement. Now the customers most of the times have a habit, to change it frequently. Okay, this functionality you can add. Okay, remove this functionality, you can add this functionality, so on and so forth. So it may happen that the developed functionality is not as per the user expectation, because he might have thought something different and something else might have been developed. Okay, now next is varied user having different set of expectations. Now since this application is going to be used by n number of users, Okay, so it can happen that different users, some users might be satisfied, some users might not be satisfied, they might be requiring some different functionalities. Okay, so because of this challenges, there are going to be different issues in the applications. Okay, now what are the challenges that we are going to face, that the team is going to face during the design phase? There might be complexity of software architecture. Okay, this might happen because the architect who has designed the architectural plan and the system design plan and everything, okay, he might be well experienced, but the person who's developing, he might not be that much experienced. So there is a complexity of software architecture itself. So because of this, there might be some performance issues that may happen. Okay, because of this challenge, there might be some performance issues that may happen in the application. Okay, the next may be some changing technology. Now what does this mean? Some of the technologies, maybe license versions are required. Now initially it might happen that the customer is ready to pay for the licensing, but then he hears the cost and might change his mind. Okay, so whatever design we have created, it might be according to a particular technology, and then the design is changed. Okay, so then what may happen is that the application may not support the growing and changing business needs. That may be the issue that may happen because of this. Okay, then in implementation phase, what are the challenges? It generally happens, you know, the non-availability of skilled and experienced resources, or sometimes the tools are not available. Okay, so because of this, there are some issues in the codes. Okay, that can happen. Okay, or the next challenge that may face is that tracking changes in the code. So there are a number of changes which happens during development, and if the developer is not skilled enough, he may not keep a track of all the changes. So because of it, there might be some incorrect working of the functionality. Okay, so that is the issue that may face because of these challenges in the implementation phase. Okay, then in testing phase, the challenge may be that the tester doesn't know the application knowledge. Okay, please pardon the mistake, spelling mistakes. Okay, right. So non-availability of application knowledge. Now what exactly application knowledge means? Okay, now let's say if you're testing a banking application. Okay, now if you do not know what the banking terms are, you're a fresher, you don't know how to calculate a EMI, or there are a number of terms which are used in banking. Okay, so how are you able to test it? So you might feel that, you know, some functionality is not working properly, you may raise a defect, but actually there is a lack of this application knowledge that you may have. So because of this, the application issues may not get reported properly. Okay, similar issue is going to be faced when there is limited time for testing. Okay, so the customer might say that, you know, I want the application delivered in a couple of weeks, and you do not have some sufficient time, or the developer is delivering the application late. Okay, then you have limited time for testing. Then what may happen is some issues may get undiscovered. Okay, you may not able to discover those issues. Okay, that may be passed on to the production then. Okay, then sometimes it may happen that there is some insufficient data for testing, so because of which you are not able to test the application properly, and the issues may directly go to the production environment. For example, you know, let's say if you are working on an e-commerce site, okay, then you want to test whether the entire journey is happening through a payment gateway, or the payment is getting released or not. But are you going to use your card, your debit card or credit card? No, right? If the debit card or credit card is not given by the customer, so that data is not available to you for testing purpose, you won't be able to test that particular journey, isn't it? So then you won't be able to identify that particular issue is there, or whether it is happening successfully or not. Okay, then the challenges in a deployment phase are maybe incorrect settings or non-readiness of environment. And incorrect settings means that whenever you deliver a particular code changes into the production environment, into the user environment, there are some switches that are made. Okay, so you have to switch on or switch off depending upon the functionalities required. So if let's say you have delivered a functionality but the switch is kept off, so then that functionality might not be available, so that is incorrect settings or something like that. Okay, and non-readiness of user environment means, let me just give you an example. Let's say you have developed some new features, a new functionality, it's in some Android app or an iOS app. Okay, and you have delivered that functionality in, to the user environment. Okay, now what happens is that the user has not updated the version itself. Okay, and so because of that he is using the old version, and in that old version he is facing some issues. Why? Because you have updated the version. Okay, but he has not updated it. Okay, you have delivered some new code but the version is still old. Okay, so that updated code is going to be supported if the version is updated, isn't it? So that is non-readiness of user environment. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, and then a few challenges in maintenance phase can also be there. Okay, so managing continuous changes in the functionality requirement or the code. Okay, so obviously there might be some issues in the live environment, so you are continuously changing those things, or their customer is continuously frequently changing the requirements, okay, for the next releases. So that can happen. So because of this, what may happen is that after the code changes, some earlier functionality which were already working may be disturbed and they might not be working now. Okay, so these are the challenges and the issues which you face during the software development life cycle. Right now, why we are studying this? Okay, now because of the challenges that you face, there are going to be issues in the application, isn't it? Okay, issues or problems. Now this issue or a problem is nothing but, it's called as a defect or a bug. So if you want to define the bug or defect, is nothing but the issue or problems that might occur in the software application. Okay, right? Are you getting this? So we are following the software development life cycle, but there are going to be challenges in the software development life cycle. Because of those challenges, there are going to be issues in the application. Okay, those issues or problems is nothing but called as a defect. Understood? Okay, now defect is again categorized in a couple of things. Okay, so there might be some functionality related issues. Some functions are not working at all. So if you want to, let's say Facebook, you are not able to post a picture. Okay, you are not able to tag someone. That's a functionality related issues. Okay, there might be some user interface related issues, wherein the UI is distorted, the button is not in the proper place. Okay, or the color scheme is not proper. Okay, so that can happen. Those are called as user interface related issues. So wrong alignment, non-uniformity in the screen design, okay, or wrong type of control use. Then some response related issues may also happen. So response means so performance related issues. So slow reaction to user action, it is, you may see that it is buffering, you know. So it may happen. Now buffering, sometimes it is because of the user internet may be slow, okay, but it's still a issue, right? And then the last one is difficult to use. So the user is not comfortable while using your application. Okay, so probably there are no helps provided, or the error messages that has been given, it's not properly clarified or displayed. Okay, so that may be the defect that may come. Okay, so I hope you have understood this definition and the different types of issues. Okay, now to identify these defects, okay, so let us see. We have developed the project through STLC. Now there are some challenges in the STLC. Because of those challenges, there are some issues in the application. Those issues are called as defects, which we are categorized into 4 different categories. Okay, and to identify those issues, what we have to do is called as software testing. Okay, I hope you understood the chronology here and why this chapter is designed in this way. Okay, so the definition of software testing is nothing but it's a process which helps to identify the correctness, completeness, security and quality of a developed application. Okay. Now correctness means whether the requirements of the users are implemented correctly or not. Okay. Completeness means all the baseline requirement that we have freezed in the requirement phase itself, that has been implemented or not. Whether the application is secure or not, that means only authenticated users are allowed into the application or not. Okay. And the quality of the application depending upon the different quality attributes. Okay. Whether it is properly satisfying the customer or not. Okay. So I hope we have done with the chapter here. Okay, I hope you have understood the chronology here. We have studied the SDLC, then we have studied the development team, the challenges in the software development lifecycle, and because of those challenges there are issues. To identify or those issues are called as bugs or defect, and to identify those bugs we have to do software testing, and then we cleared the definition of the software testing. I hope you have liked this video. So if you like this videos, please do like, share and comment. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll be posting another video soon. Thank you.